If you have been following us for a while, especially our new releases and new models, you know that we're working on a couple of dive knives. These dive knives are meant for scuba diving, spearfishing, saltwater environments, freshwater environments. How do you test a dive knife for saltwater environments when you live in Idaho? You either go to the ocean and spend some time there, go to the Great Salt Lake in Utah, or you make some salt water here at the shop, which is what we're gonna do. The dive knives, we've got the Sidekick Diver and we've got the Snake River Rescue. This is built for scuba diving. That's why it's got the chisel tip. The tip of this is not sharpened. You got serrations, so it's a double-edged blade. You got all sorts of cutting options. You got a tank tapper. You got all the cool stuff that you would want in a scuba diving knife. Kydex sheath, it's gonna have some brass hardware, some aluminum hardware, and we wanna test to make sure that this hardware and the steel is gonna hold up to what saltwater will do to it. The other one is the Sidekick Diver. This is more built for spear fishing. So the sharpened, two sharpened edges, you've got serrations still, you've got a line cutter. The sharpened tip on this for spear fishing in particular helps dispatch fish so that you can surface a little easier and not fight the fish on your way out of the water. No steel is completely stain proof. They stain less. N690 is a good trade-off between a high amount of stain resistance and a good steel for knives. So these are the two knives that we're testing. We're gonna be testing them in their sheaths. We've already tested them outside of their sheaths. So we're gonna dip them in salt water. We're gonna leave them there for the amount of time that a scuba diver would be in the water, especially experienced scuba divers. So over an hour in the salt water. We're gonna take them out, we're gonna let them dry. And we'll probably repeat that process 2, 3, 4 times without cleaning the knives, without washing off the salt water to see what happens to the hardware and the blades. We've got to get our salt water to a salinity of about 3.5%. We have 3 liters of water in our little bucket here, which means that we need about 3.75 ounces of salt to get us to a salinity of 3.5%. I'm gonna probably overdo it a little bit on purpose because I'm okay with that. There are some sections of the ocean and some places where the salinity is actually higher than 3.5%. That's just a standard. So 3.84 ounces, that puts us a little bit over. Then we're gonna leave the knives for about 70, 80 minutes. And then we're gonna take them out, let them dry, and see what happens with the hardware and with the steel. Anything you have near seawater, you should probably maintain a little bit more often if you just live in an area where there is no seawater. Dive knives in general, they're gonna require a little bit more maintenance. We stayed away from titanium and other materials on purpose because, again, we wanted these to be good knives. So salt water, or the salt, appears to be pretty well mixed in here. We're just gonna leave the knives completely submerged. We'll come back in 80 minutes or so and see what happens. Just to make sure everybody knows, you can see the air bubbles coming out of the sheath. So we're gonna get rid of any excess air. You can see the water dripping through the drain hole. So we know that we're getting water inside of the sheath. That way there's no question about whether the steel is coming into contact with the water or not. One of the other things we're gonna do with these, we're going to powder coat the actual blades. So the only exposed part of the steel will be the sharpened areas and the engraving. That's gonna provide just that much more stain resistance. So our dive knives have been soaking in their little saltwater bath here for about 80 minutes, give or take. We're gonna take them out, we're gonna let them just air dry. We're not gonna rinse them off, we're not gonna wash them, we're not gonna do anything to clean off the salt water. We're really trying to just simulate what would happen if somebody was out on the water, they get out of the water, they're on the boat, they're gonna set their knife down somewhere. They're probably not gonna clean it right away. Maybe when they get back to the marina, maybe when they get back home. We're gonna take them out, we're gonna leave one in the sheath and let it just completely dry. We're gonna take one out of the sheath, and we're just gonna see how the salt kind of piles up and just how they dry and what happens. Is stuff gonna rust? Is it just gonna cake around all the holes, or what, what's gonna happen there? As you can see, there was plenty of water inside the sheath. This one we're gonna leave in its sheath. We're just gonna let that dry. This one, we're going to take out of its sheath and let these two dry separate. So basically what I expect to see is kind of where the water's sitting. I expect to see a little bit of salt buildup on the blade, possibly maybe a couple of little rust spots here and there. The hardware, we'll see what happens with it. The sheath is going to get some salt buildup. The point of this exercise and the reason we're going to redo this multiple times is because brass and aluminum can rust. I think it takes a lot for them to rust, but they can. These hardwares are black oxide coated. That coating will last for a while, but with prolonged use and just the act of cleaning them multiple times, you're going to rub off that black oxide coating over time. We want to see what's happening to this hardware as that goes. We'll probably leave them for a couple hours, just let them fully dry, and then we'll come back and see what happens. We've let these sit overnight. They've been drying. They've been basically the salt water has just been allowed to completely dry. We left one knife in the sheath, so I'm curious to see what that one's going to look like. It might still be a little bit wet. Maybe there's still some moisture in there. Maybe that one's going to rust more than the other one, but this is why we wanted to run these kinds of tests. First look, the main thing that I would not want to see would be rust around the hardware. So rust around these screws. They actually look really good. I'm surprised there's not more salt buildup there. There's not really, like there's some spots here, but I think those will clean right off. Maybe a little bit of rust right there, but I think that will clean off. So I think this knife in particular, that's going to clean right off. Again, the finished product is going to be powder coated. So really the only exposed metal is going to be the edges and the engravings. For the sheath, there's definitely a lot more salt buildup around all the hardware. So we've got our eyelets and we've got our screws and washers. All of the hardware still appears to be fine. After carrying one of these, using it for a while, I don't know what's going to happen as people wear off this black oxide coating. For the knife that's been sitting in its sheath, there we go. We've got a couple of rust spots on the blade, but I think that a lot of that is just going to clean right off. I mean, just rubbing that with my finger, it's coming off. So a little bit of maintenance will need to be done on this one just to kind of keep it clean. But again, the main thing we're looking for is hardware, and again, that all appears to be in pretty good condition, especially this front screw where it actually sits inside of the sheath and can kind of just collect and keep moisture there. I'm not really seeing any rust or any signs of corrosion there. Definitely some salt buildup. Definitely a couple of little bits of rust on this blade. The screws on this sheath in particular, we scuffed up the bottoms of them to see if we could get some rust to form, so some of the black oxide layer is gone, and they still look fine. I'm not really seeing rust there. They're stainless steel screw. All the hardware, again, looks fine. So far so good. We've done a couple of tests like this already. We're going to continue to test these. In fact, once we finish this video, I'm probably just going to toss them right back into salt water. The point here is to just see like how much neglect needs to happen with these knives before they start to have some major issues. In general, somebody who's out on the water, as long as they have a chance to get some type of access to fresh water, really all you would need to do is rinse the salt water off of these. A quick little wash should be all you need to do to maintain. As long as you can get the salt buildup to not happen, I don't think we're gonna have a lot of issues with people getting rust on these. Quick update on what we've been doing with these dive knives as far as the testing goes. You guys have seen everything we've done already. We wanted to kick it up a notch and really give these things a run for their money. I'm surprised. This is possibly the last little part of our testing, I guess, that we're going to show you guys. Like, we're pushing a week at this point.